Hi everyone, welcome to Studio Jake. I of course am your host, Jacob Airy. Please be sure to subscribe, like this video, share it out from whatever platform you're watching it on. I'm all over the place, so I would appreciate it if you would do that for me. Leave a comment below. It always helps us out. Before I get started, I just wanted to say that normally when I talk about my favorite comic book character of all time, someone who I think is the greatest part of American mythology. Always wear a shirt to represent. That's right, I am talking about Batman. I am Batman. It is one of the greatest characters ever. Bruce Wayne, Gotham City, his belt, his rogues galleries. As you can see, because I have a... Sorry, I should have done this way. Batman is one of my favorite characters of all time. Like, not even just as far as being a nerd, I actually think that Batman is one of the biggest figures in American pop culture, in the cultural zeitgeist, and like I said before, American mythology. And whenever I talk about Batman, I always wear a shirt, or at least most of the time, I wear a shirt representing. Today I didn't feel like doing that. I wore my dragon. You can't really see it, but below it says enthusiast under the dragon, so dragon enthusiast. Because I want to talk about how DC Comics is ruining Batman, the character that basically is their bread and butter outside of Superman and Wonder Woman, obviously. And that is due to a writer, or at least he claims he's a writer, named Tom King. So Tom King took on Batman when they relaunched for the Rebirth. He took over from Scott Snyder, I don't care what people say. The New 52, yes, it had its ups and downs. The mech Commissioner Gordon was stupid. I'll acknowledge that. But it also had some of the greatest storylines. We had Court of the Owls, 0 Year. So now we're to the Rebirth, and Tom King comes along. And at first things are going pretty good. He had, at the most, it was mediocre. It wasn't too terrible. I know a lot of people don't really like the War of Jokes and Riddles. I thought it was great. It was kind of like his attempt to make his own version of the Long Halloween, because it takes place a couple of years into Batman's tenure as the Dark Knight, as we want to say. And but then it's like after issue 50, it's like he forgot how to do characterization. He forgot how to write dialogue. He forgot how to world build, how to create compelling characters. It's like his memory just went out the window, and he took the story in this ridiculous trail, particularly after the famous wedding issue where there was no wedding. Now, he claims that DC Comics editors told him to make it where Catwoman doesn't marry Batman, and it ends up being sort of this corrupting force for the rest of his tenure. He was supposed to do 100 issues. DC demoted him to 80. I can't remember if it's 80, but it's between 80 and 85, I believe. And so to make up, and he also wrote the disastrous attempt at rebooting some of the second tier sidekicks. So like Red Arrow, Tim Drake Robin, Vibe, characters like that who are kind of like second. You could call them second tier characters in Heroes in Crisis, which was a stupid and ridiculous story that had a terrible ending. And I talk about that in an old video called "Why Does DC Comics Hate Wally West?" Because Wally West, spoiler alert, was the perpetrator of that. And now he's doing things like Human Target and stuff like that. But they gave him a chance to close his story arc with it was originally supposed to be a 10-part miniseries. It got extended to 13 if you include the holiday special, but a 12-part series called Batman Catwoman. And lo and behold, I happen to have them right here. So I'm going to talk about the positive things about the series. The covers. So yeah, they have, the covers are actually pretty good. So this is issue 1. You've got issue, oh, sorry, you can't really see them right there. Sorry, my bad. You've got issue 1, issue 2, issue 3, and so on. I won't, you don't have to see all of them, but anyway, you've got, the covers are actually not bad. And in fact, I usually don't buy variant covers because I know that they're just a marketing tool, but I actually got the variant version of issue 8, which, so this is the main one on top, and then this is the variant cover. I actually liked the variant cover better. So yeah, it was pretty much a disaster. Basically, he took the worst possible aspects of Batman, Joker, Catwoman, and then also wanted to derail a fan favorite character, the Phantasm, who was not originating from the comics. She actually originated from Batman the Animated Series in the film Batman Mask of the Phantasm, which to this day I think has the best Batman-Joker interactions. Certainly better than Suicide Squad. I say, and I also, as much as I like Batman and The Dark Knight, I love Heath Ledger as the Joker. Certainly Christian Bale is the best live-action Batman. Michael Keaton, great Batman. Jack he was poorly written by the writers of the movie, but it's still a good movie. I'll acknowledge that. And Jack Nicholson as kind of an older, more gangster-style Joker was really good, but I still think that Mask of the Phantasm encapsulates the relationship between Batman and the Joker on film and the Joker's impact on Gotham City as a whole better than any other movie, hands down. Now, whenever and I'm mentioning that because it is relevant to this, because the Phantasm is a character in this series. So this is the Phantasm as illustrated on this cover. Now, originally, for the first 6 issues, an artist named Clay Mann was handling the illustrations, and quite frankly, he does a decent job. It's really clear though, especially the first 2 issues, he does a really good job. But then it's kind of clear as he gets to the end of it that he's kind of losing faith in the story because he starts to phone it in. And now, as you can tell, we're on the negative parts. Liam Sharp then takes over. For some reason, they give Liam Sharp like all the credit, because I know he starts over, I think, at issue 7, and then for the holiday special they have a bunch of guest writers. Now the story is basically told in 3 parts. So there's like an older story where it shows the Joker wants to use the Catwoman to try to manipulate Batman. Then there's a middle one where it's closer to where issue 50 left off, and it's the Phantasm comes to town. She wants to kill the Joker because the Joker killed her son. So then that's part of it. And then there's a third timeline, which is after Bruce Wayne has died. His daughter Helena is now the Dark Knight, going, of course, by Batwoman. I say, of course, because that should be obvious, but now we've got things like the Woman King. You know, there's a title for that. Queen. Anyway, going forward, and Selina kills the Joker. He's like an old man living off in Florida somewhere. Or I guess maybe it's in Gotham, because Dick Grayson, who is now the commissioner in this timeline, is investigating it. So it's like those 3 storylines. And basically my problem with it is, for one thing, if you're going to take a fan favorite character like the Phantasm, and Phantasm is a fan favorite character, you are going to have to really work hard to win people over. Because people like me, Batman the Animated Series and Spider-Man the Animated Series are why I got into comic books to begin with. Those shows opened up a whole new world to me ever since I was really young, and they were something special to me, something close to my heart, something that I loved to watch and enjoy. But with this kind of arc, what's interesting is he introduces the Phantasm, and at first she's trying to kill the Joker, and then there's an issue where she makes a deal with the Joker, and they terrorize this innocent family that has some vague connection to what they're doing, and that it's never really explored. And then the Phantasm just kind of vanishes, and then suddenly reappears, like, oh, I was here the whole time. Very inconsistent, very inconsiderate storytelling, and also it had this weird Christmas motif where each issue is named after a Christmas hymn, and then on the back, like they start to show other windows with the name. So the first one is Silent Night, and then soon it becomes like the whole Wayne Manor, and they each have a different Christmas hymn. It was dumb. For one thing, most of these stories weren't even published during Christmas time, so it makes no sense. It didn't even conclude at Christmas time. You know, this is July, which I actually think the stories came out in June. I avoided buying it, but I made a commitment to all of you that I would finish it. And I reviewed each issue individually, so you can head over to my website to check those out. But just overall, what was this? Batman is an emotional weakling who exists only to be talked down to by the Joker and Catwoman. And I don't even really understand what is this new thing, because even James Tynion, the fourth, or Tynan, whatever it is, I apologize for mispronouncing his name, he was doing this during the Joker War. It's like the Joker is right. The Joker is secretly right. His twisted logic, never mind that he's a mass murderer and sometimes gangster who has terrorized the city of Gotham City for years, and the police for some reason don't shoot him on sight. Never mind that. Now, I know we can argue Batman's ethical code. I think it's important that Batman has a don't kill policy, but still, the police should just kill him. I don't think anyone would be okay. And also, Sean Gordon Murphy did this in Batman White Knight. I mean, and then the next one too, Curse of the White Knight. It's this really stupid trend where it's like, oh, Joker is really secretly right about the Batman, and then the whole all issues. Anytime Batman does something, Catwoman has a way to crap all over him. And okay, I get it. Maybe at some point, yeah, maybe the Batman is getting discouraged because he's not catching the Joker, and so Catwoman encourages him to step up, and he's like, you're the Dark Knight, you go out there and you capture the Joker. But no, it's not like that. I don't even know what the point of the story was, because nothing mattered, nothing made sense, nothing was permanent. It all just seemed like a way. And in a lot of these, they do these bait and switches. This is kind of common now in fiction where, like, for instance, Obi-Wan Kenobi wasn't really about Obi-Wan. It was about Reva, the Inquisitor in the story. We all know this. And with this one, it wasn't even really a bait and switch where it was... Catwoman certainly had more screen time because of the third arc, but I couldn't even really say that it was a bait and switch. It was just bad. It was poor writing. The dialogue was... There's like several scenes where Batman just goes, cat, and Catwoman replies, bat. So it's bat, cat, for full pages. I was like, who writes like this? Who even talks like this? It's so dumb. It's so lame. And remember I mentioned earlier, Clay Mann, you could tell by the time he got to the end of his role as the artist, he was getting lazier and lazier. The same with Liam Sharp. They just, unless the page was full blown, you could kind of tell they were just recycling older images from earlier in the issue. And there's one with Liam Sharp where it's literally Batman and Catwoman are facing each other, and it's flipped for 2 pages. So it's not even that it's a conversation. He doesn't even change their lips. They look exactly the same. It was really bad. It was really poorly edited. It was, if I was a DC Comics exec, I would have been embarrassed by this. That's how bad it is. I can't imagine. I'm not a Human Target fan. I've never watched the shows. I've never read the comics. But if you're a Human Target fan, please let me know, and let me know how Tom King is doing with the comic. I don't even... This comic series, from beginning to end, and previously on my website I talked about this. I am no longer buying present day publications other than the ones that I've committed to reviewing. So right now I'm committed to reviewing Batman the Knight and Batman One Dark Knight. To be fair, I am enjoying Batman One Dark Knight. Not really the Knight, but you can read my reviews on that also on my website. But who was this for? Because it certainly wasn't for Batman fans. It wasn't even for Catwoman fans. I don't understand this need to say to you, hey, you remember Batman? Remember how cool you thought he was in the Keaton films and in with Val Kilmer and Adam West and Kevin Conroy and so on and so forth. Remember how cool he was as Christian Bale and when he was fighting the Ninja Turtles. Well, none of that was true. Batman is actually this emotionally stunted weakling who has to be bossed around by his criminal girlfriend. And we're going to tell you all about it courtesy of Tom King. Now, I actually did like this cover. the full wraparound of Batman and Catwoman getting married. But like I said, the covers are fine. It's the stories, and I don't know why DC is doing this. They're doing it to Wonder Woman. They're doing it to Superman. They did it to Green Lantern a long time ago. They're doing it with The Flash. They're doing it, and now they're doing it with Batman forever. While Denny O'Neil was the editor of Batman, he kept Batman out of politics as much as he could. And he was a really brilliant editor. And it's such a shame because when he retired, you could really see that's when Batman started to go downhill. Like I said, we had kind of a bump with Scott Snyder. I freaking love Scott Snyder's work. Though I'll admit I didn't like Batman Last Night on Earth, but I liked his other stuff. I liked All-Star Batman. I liked his run on just Batman, the flagship comic, and so on. Yeah, fantastic. And it's just such a bummer that DC wasted their money paying this hack, Tom King, to write this kind of story. And we're seeing this with other stories as well. I mentioned Batman the Knight. We're seeing it with a lot of the Black Label stuff. The last great Batman story was Batman 3 Jokers by Jeff Johns, and that's just the hard, cold truth right now. I don't think we're going to get anything better with DC Comics pushing this fluff, this we hate Batman narrative where he's going to get talked down to all the time. Barbara Gordon is going to give him an attitude. Damian's going to his own son is outright going to punch him. Dick Grayson is going to ignore him. We're going to create a rift between them. Again, Tim Drake, of course, you know, all the character changes about Tim Drake, which have just been atrocious. We're just going to ignore all of the canon. We're going to ignore all the amazing character traits established by Bob Kane, Bill Finger, Jerry Robinson, and all the writers that came after them. Frank Miller, Chuck Dixon. I mentioned Scott Snyder several times. As you can see, I'm a big Scott Snyder fan, and so on and so forth. You know, it's Mike Baron, who I don't know why they didn't let him write more, but you know, what can you do? What can you do? This has been some of the most embarrassing stuff DC Comics has put out. And listen, Discovery, if you find this and you're like, hey, how can we clean house? Listen, I don't know how you can at this point, because you would need a total overhaul of writers. Hey, I'm a writer. I'm a fiction writer. You can see my books behind me. I've written fiction. I'll be happy to come and fix Batman for you. Heck, you need real fans who actually care about these characters, not someone who's going to use a self-insert pity party Batman to do it. And I don't know why you keep doing this. Your sales speak for themselves. They're terrible. Oh, sure, they had a little bit of a bump after comic book stores started open. Good for you. It was all old stuff. You can't pull this trick on us anymore. I really hope that DC Comics wakes up and gives us the Batman we all know and love. If you liked that video, I would really appreciate it if today was the day you chose to subscribe. Be sure to leave me a comment and tell me what you thought about the video. No matter what platform you are watching on, I'm on multiple, so please like the video, subscribe, leave me a comment, share it out. It really helps me in the algorithm. You can follow me on all my socials. They're in the video description. And be sure to head over to my website, StudioJakeMedia.com. If you would like to support me, head over to my locals page, which is StudioJakeMedia.locals.com. Sign up there. I've got exclusive content. I've got all the postings from my vidcast and from my website, not to mention links where you can purchase my novels. I really appreciate it, and I'll see you next time right here on Studio Jake.